Hello, welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing our 30th D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. We're going to be looking at the Champion of Corellon Larethian Prestige class from the Races of the Wild sourcebook. Champions of Corellon are elvish champions that are blessed by Corellon, and they are specialized in fighting in melee. Elves stereotypically fight from range due to their low constitution, or using magic, basically anything to avoid melee. The idea of the Champion of Corellon is that this is an elf warrior who fights in melee using heavy armor and elvish weapons. And from the prerequisites for this prestige class, we can tell that pretty quickly. To become a Champion of Corellon Larethian, you're going to need to have a +7 base attack bonus, a non-evil alignment, and you're going to need to be an elf or half-elf. You're going to need 4 ranks in diplomacy, 2 ranks in knowledge religion. You're going to need to be proficient with all martial weapons and heavy armor. And for feats, you're going to need combat expertise, dodge, mounted combat for some reason. And you'll also need to either have weapon-focused longsword or exotic weapon proficiency in either the elven thin blade or elven court blade. So these prestige class requirements are very restrictive, although they're not as difficult to achieve as you might think. While the book suggests that you multi-class into Paladin to fulfill the skill requirements, those skill requirements are only 12 ranks, and if they're all that you care about for your character, then all you need to do is just take some cross-class ranks as a fighter, and you'll be able to max those out pretty easily. Now, as for the feats that you're going to need, combat expertise and dodge are going to require you to have intelligence 13 and dexterity of 13. Now, it's a little bit odd that the book is suggesting that you come into this class as a paladin. Now, while some of the class features are similar to those of a paladin, and it does seem like a natural continuation of the paladin class, as we'll see, dexterity and intelligence already tend to be low stats for the paladin, seeing as they need good strength, good constitution, good wisdom, and good charisma. So it's a tall order to expect them to have good dexterity and intelligence as well. I suppose if you roll all 15s or higher for your starting stats, then it might be a little bit more tempting to come in as that, but as such, you're already going to be stretched thin coming into this as a fighter, requiring combat expertise. And you also have to take either weapon-focused longsword or exotic weapon proficiency with the elven thin blade or elven court blade. While this class is, as we'll see, geared towards characters with good dexterity or weapon finesse users, the elven court blade is basically 0.5 damage better than a falchion with less reliability, and the elven thin blade is going to be another 1 point of damage above a regular rapier. So this exotic weapon feat is not going to be doing you a whole lot on its own. The weapon-focused longsword feat might be better. It's actually a toss-up between weapon-focused longsword and elven court blade proficiency in my mind, as we'll see coming up. So I would rate this prestige class requirements very restrictive. You're going to need to be at least 7th level, and of course you're going to have to be playing an elf or half-elf. I wouldn't really count that, as that sort of is a prerequisite. You're not going to be really interested in this class otherwise. So that one we can set aside, as well as the non-evil alignment. But other than that, you do have to spend 12 cross-class skill ranks as a fighter, and you need to get 4 feats. That's going to be a commitment for any character. So let's see if the class features are worth it. You're going to get a D10 hit die, same as the fighter or paladin that you entered this class as. You're going to get full base attack bonus as you'd expect, and you're going to get good fortitude save and good will save. So stats-wise, this is off to a pretty good start. For class skills, you're going to get 2+ intelligence modifier per level, and you're going to get stuff like concentration, diplomacy, heal, handle animal, ride, sense motive, spellcraft, essentially a smattering of the fighter and paladin skill lists. You're not going to be getting any more skill points, but that's fine because you're probably already going to have most of what you want. As for class features, at first level you're going to gain Corellon's Blessing. This is essentially lay on hands as the paladin gets, and it's going to work pretty much the same way. You can use it to heal your allies, you can use it to harm undead, and any levels in paladin that you already have will contribute to this pool of healing, which is going to be equal to your combined levels in this class and in Paladin, multiplied by your Charisma modifier. Also at first level, you're going to get a bonus feat. It has to be a fighter bonus feat, and it has to require combat expertise, dodge, or mounted combat as a prerequisite. This is a little bit odd. It does narrow down your potential feat pool quite a bit. There is, of course, the all too popular mobility and spring attack that you can choose from. Whirlwind attack is a bit fitting here, but there's really not a whole lot here that you're going to likely want. Combat expertise does have some interesting options behind it. Improved trip and improved disarm can be nice in some situations, but it does come with all the attendant problems of giving up your attack for some sort of other advantage. The restriction here is going to make it difficult to choose the kind of feat that you want, and seeing as if you come into this as a fighter, this is going to be what would have been your 8th level of fighter, you're essentially downgrading the bonus feat that you would have already been getting. And while you do get this cool healing ability at level 1, it does require you to have a high charisma on top of your good dexterity and good intelligence, as well as having good strength and constitution. So this is quite a tall order. This is going to be good for Elven Paladins still, of course, but if we want to come into this quickly as a fighter, it's going to be a little more uphill for us. At second level, you're going to gain the Elegant Strike feature. This allows you to apply your dexterity bonus on damage rolls in addition to any strength bonus you may have while wielding a longsword, rapier, elven thin blade, elven light blade, elven court blade, or scimitar. The text here says elven court sword, so we're going to have to assume that they meant elven court blade, and that's just a typo, but either way, that's pretty much assumed. And, of course, this is counting as precision damage, so any creatures that are immune to sneak attack or critical hits are going to be immune to this as well. So this is a little bit like the Swashbuckler feature, the Insightful Strike, which lets you add your intelligence modifier to damage rolls. This is going to let you tack on your dexterity bonus as well. So if you have a very good strength and a very good dexterity, this is going to help you out quite a bit. If you're playing a dex-based fighter, this is really going to be a game changer for you. And this is one of the few ways in the entirety of D&D 3.5 to get dexterity to your damage rolls. And this is a feature that I would have liked to see more of, either as a feat, even if it did have difficult prerequisites, or as a feature in more prestige classes, or even at some point in base classes. The cost to get into this, to be able to get your dexterity bonus to damage with certain melee weapons, is going to be a bit steep to consider this prestige class for that sort of character by itself. You're not going to want every single elf you want to be a finesse fighter to be getting into this class. But as a feature by itself, it is nice. It does limit you to certain weapons, but those are the sorts of weapons you'll generally be using with your dexterity modifier anyway. So that's not too much of a problem. At level 3, you're going to gain Superior Defense. The maximum dexterity bonus for any medium or heavy armor that you wear, including the mithril versions, is increased by 1. So if you're wearing full plate armor that has a maximum dexterity bonus of +1, this increases to +2. And at 6th level, this increases to an extra +2 to the maximum dexterity bonus, and at level 9 in this prestige class, you get an extra +3. So if you're wearing mithril full plate and you're 10th level or 9th level in this class, then you're going to be able to apply +6 of your dexterity to your armor class while wearing full plate. That's a pretty excellent option for armor class. Obviously, the downside of heavy armor is that when you wear it, you can't contribute as much of your dexterity, and that's been a balancing factor to how good heavy armor is compared to light armor. With this, you get to push a little bit past that, and you could get some pretty excellent armor class out of this. If you're able to get to that +6 dexterity with +5 full plate, that's going to be giving you a 29 armor class all by itself. And if you tack in, a maxed out ring, a maxed out amulet, and a maxed out heavy shield, that's going to be giving you something like in the mid-40s, all by itself. And that's certainly nothing to sneeze at before epic level. While this isn't going to be the most powerful feature ever, obviously, and there are other ways that are much better to improve your armor class, this fits the class's theme, and it's certainly an attractive feature by itself. At level 5, you're going to gain Unimpeded Movement. which means that your movement speed is no longer going to be reduced while wearing medium or heavy armor. And if you have the spring attack feat, this ability lets you use spring attack even while wearing heavy armor. Spring attack isn't really that great of a feat, although this class does seem to be trying to push you toward it with the bonus feats that you get. But the ability to move your full, presumably 30 feet of move speed while in heavy armor is going to help you quite a lot if you use a battle mat, as a lot of groups do. This is going to keep you from being that slow-moving tank in heavy armor. And this is fitting for an elvish warrior and what they would want. So this is a pretty good feature. At level 8, you're going to gain Corellon's Wrath. And this is going to allow you to, as a free action, a number of times per day equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier, wrath your weapon in a veil of incandescent light. So for 1 round, you're going to gain a +2 sacred bonus on attack rolls and do an extra 2d6 points of damage with each melee attack. So if you land all of your attacks at this level, you're going to be doing an extra 20 or so damage. And if you are power attacking and you convert that attack bonus into more damage, that's going to be more like 30 extra damage. And if you can do this in consecutive rounds, and perhaps even combining this with Paladin Smite Evil, you're going to deal out a pretty good amount of damage. This is not a bad capstone. It's not really a capstone, as you still have Superior Defense +3 and a bonus feat to get. But this is still a good capstone for the class. It feeds back more into the divine nature of it, as you are a champion of Corellon, and thus far there's only been one other feature that's really been related to that. So this is a good ending to the Prestige class in terms of unique features. Looking at this Prestige class overall, it is very restrictive to get into, and that's really its biggest downside. The setup of features, while it's not quite as satisfying to what some people expect the capstone ability to be at level 10, for taking 8 levels or even 9 levels, you probably don't want to take the 10th level and just grab the bonus feat, seeing as if you came into this as fighter, perhaps fighter level 7, you could just go back to fighter and get that bonus feat as well, and be a little bit further along to qualifying for some high-level fighter feats. That's another flaw in the Prestige class's structure, but there are certainly no complaints to be had about getting Corellon's Wrath at level 8 instead of level 10. And really the biggest criticism for this Prestige class is going to be how difficult it is to get into. Odds are that you're still going to want to be power attacking with a two-handed weapon, so that's where you're going to have to make the decision between weapon focus longsword and exotic weapon proficiency with the elven court blade. You can consider weapon focus longsword to be an equivalent of +2 damage if you convert that +1 to hit into power attack. So that's going to be better than the elven court blade proficiency. But with the elven court blade proficiency, you do get an 18 to 20 critical modifier, which you can turn into a 15 to 20 with a keen enchantment or improved critical. And a two-handed power attacking critical build character is almost always going to be an at least adequate damage dealer, if not excellent, for your party. So that's going to be the decision that you're going to have to make. The elven court blade, feat tax, so to speak, is going to be a little bit painful, but it is going to open up more options for you, seeing as you can't use your elegant strike with a falchion, for example. This is also a Prestige class that you're going to want to have very good stats for, and that rings true, obviously, of any D&D character ever, but this one's really going to make use of being excellent in Strength, Dexterity, and Constitution. If you have all 3 of those, you're going to make the most of the little cheats that this class gives you, such as exceeding your armor's normal maximum Dexterity bonus. Overall, really, when you look at it, you're going to be getting regular move speed, +3 armor class, an excellent substitute for Smite Evil, and some lay on hands abilities, plus a few bonus feats in this Prestige class. You do get 4 bonus feats. They are going to be restricted to the dodge and combat expertise or mounted combat feat trees, but you probably can find some decent options in there. And they are supplemental feats that you won't be getting anyway with most Prestige classes. And again, the biggest issue with this Prestige class is the prerequisites. It requires you to have mounted combat, but none of the features other than the bonus feat feature have anything to do with mounted combat at all. It's simply put in there probably to reinforce the vision of the knight in shining armor, but it's really irrelevant to the class, and it's certainly one that I would cut out to make it more attractive. It certainly doesn't seem to unbalance it or make it an overpowered prestige class. Dodge is fine. That represents the elegant and graceful elvish way of fighting, and combat expertise is fine too, even though it does make your character a little bit more multi-ability dependent. It is still fitting thematically, and it does make sense that it would have a couple of feat requirements. Other than that, there aren't a whole lot of changes that I would make to this prestige class. It is unfortunate that it's one of the few dexterity to melee damage abilities in the game, and it is locked behind this prestige class, but it does make sense, and it is one of the prestige class's more attractive features. Overall, I'd give this prestige class 3 stars for concept and 3 stars for execution. It would get a little bit higher if it had more attractive prerequisites, but as is, it's really difficult to see a character wanting to get into this as a paladin, unless they've rolled really excellent stats, which does happen. And if you are rolling for stats and you get, great scores and you don't have much use for them otherwise, then I would definitely recommend this prestige class as a paladin or as a fighter. But in that case, a paladin's more of an option. As is, you're probably going to want to get into this as a fighter. If you're going to be two-handed power attacking, this will help your armor class and your mobility. And it will give you a nice smite feature at higher levels. You are going to miss out on the higher level fighter combat feats, but you can get back into those. And while stuff like melee weapon mastery and greater weapon specialization are nice to have, Corellon's Wrath hopefully will make up for that. One would have to do the math to figure out for sure. And there are many assumptions there that don't really fit into a typical D&D game. So that's about it for this prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.